think it's Swapna Mataji, right? Today, go ahead, Mataji, when you're ready with prayers.
Yes, Prabhuji. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Apatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Today we'll continue reading from Canto 1, Chapter 12, texts 1 to 18, Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Text 1. The sage Shaunaka said, the womb of Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord. Text 2. How was the great Emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in that womb? How did his death take place, and what did he achieve for his death? Text 3. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Shukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Text 4. Sri Suta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service onto the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna. Text 5. News have reached the celestial planets about Maharaja Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, his fame, etc. Text 6. O Brahmanas, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the denizens of heaven aspired for it. But because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service. Text 7. O son of Brigu, Shaunaka, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother, Uttara, and was suffering from the burning heat of the Brahmastra, thrown by Ashwatthama, he could observe the Supreme Lord coming to him. Text 8. He, the Lord, was only thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He was very beautiful, blackish, infallible body, and he wore a dress of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child. Text 9. The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earrings of molten gold, and eyes bloody red with fury. As he loitered about, his club constantly encircled him with a shooting star. Text 10. The Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra, just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was observed by the child who thought about who he was. Text 11. While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of everyone, and the protector of the righteous, who stretches in all directions and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once. Text 12. Thereupon, when all the good signs of the zodiacs gradually evolved, the higher apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him in prowess, took birth. Text 30. King Yudhishthira, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaja Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas, headed by Dhaumya and Kripa, recited auspicious hymns. Text 14. Upon the birth of a son, the king, who knew how, where, and when clarity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephants, horses, and good food grains to the Brahmanas. Text 15. The learned Brahmanas, who were very satisfied with the charities of the king, addressed him as a chief amongst the Purus and informed him that his son was certainly in the line of descent from the Purus. Text 16. The Brahmanas said, This spotless son has been restored by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, in order to oblige you. He was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. Text 17. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a world-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. Text 18. The good king Yudhishthira inquired, O great souls, will he become as saintly a king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family? Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, whenever you're ready, Himanshu Prabhu, you can continue, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotee. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Let me invoke the prayers. Mangal Charan. Om Ajnana Trimandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshitarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Prabhuji, my voice is audible because I have a bad throat today.
Okay. Your voice is audible, Prabhu. Yeah, I don't know if you want to use the screen, or you are planning to show the screen, or use it. Otherwise, you can stop it.
Oh, okay, sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah, but if you want to use it, it's okay. Yeah.
Definitely, I will stop that.
And video is not there yet, unless I don't know you plan to start the video or not.
Prabhuji. Yeah, I mean, I'll show the screen and then I'll start the video as well. Is it okay?
Sure, Prabhu. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot, Prabhu. Okay. So Hare Krishna devotees, my all obeisances to everyone. So in this today we are gonna discuss about our birth of Emperor Parikshit. In the previous chapter, we have discussed, this topic was discussed in the chapter 4, where Sonika Rishi asked about how was the birth of the Maharaj Parikshit. At that time, actually, this topic came up in the chapter 7 when the son of Drona punished. At that time, we have discussed this, but at that time, it was at a very high level where it was talk about like how Ashwatthama released the Brahmastra and then how Arjuna punished Ashwatthama. And then the topic got deviated because at that time when Sukadev Goswami was doing this katha, he was kind of so immersed, and then he started talking about Queen Kunti prayers, then how the departure happened of Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Bhishmadeva, Bhishmadeva departure, and then Krishna left to Dwaraka, and then Sonika Rishi, then after all the topic have happened, then Sonika Rishi asked again, how Maharaj Parikshit born, how his death take place, what are the activity he performed, how, so that's where this chapter start again, and then we started talking about. So in the text 1, and actually, if I talk about how this chapter is broken up, text 1 to 3, Sonika Rishi is inquiring about the Parikshit Maharaj birth and all those things, like how his death take place, what activity he did, and then next 4 to 6, Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he is glorious, how glorious king he was, how he ruled the planet. That was described, and then next few texts, how Lord Krishna saved the Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of Uttara, and how Parikshit Maharaj have a darshan of the Lord, and like how Lord looks like, his blackish in complexion, golden helmet, and all those, glorification was there, this form, and, it was described here. And then next few texts, it's talk about the birth ceremony, what different ceremonies Yudhishthira Maharaj has done, like Garbhadhara Sanskar, and afterward Jata Sanskar, and there are a lot of sanskaras were given. What needs to be done in the Vedic time, it was done, but in the current time, we just need to follow one sanskar to chant the holy name and to cleanse ourselves. And then other than afterwards, then like from text 16 to 29, Brahmana predicts what will the future, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was very inquisitive, like how my descendant will be look like, whether he will be glorious, whether his glory will be, remain there. So all those things, like then Brahmana was started describing like how Parikshit Maharaj will be glorious, and he compared with different great personalities. And then last section, which will be discussed tomorrow, where Parikshit, or maybe Monday, Parikshit growth and Yudhishthira performance of Yagna, that is described here. So without taking much of a time, I'll start with text 1. So in text 1, basically, and I want to, text 1, basically, Sonaka Rishi asked about the same, like how the mother Uttara, the mother of Parikshit Maharaj, how birth was happened, because he was worried about like Ashwatthama has released the Brahmastra, and then how Lord Krishna has saved Parikshit Maharaj. In first of all, I want to explain like how we can understand someone birth and death is glorious. So basically, we know like someone birth and activity are divine, but when we'll see like how that person death and next destination take place. In that way, we can understand the birth is also glorious because his activities are glorious. That's why he took the that will be glorious, and then the destination will be glorious. Because whatever actions we perform, based on that, our next destination is decided. And here, why Supreme Lord has saved, there are two reasons behind it. To save the Parikshit Maharaj. First of all, he want to save because Parikshit Maharaj from birth itself, he was a great devotee of the Lord Shri Krishna. Apart from it, and Lord Shri Krishna was very, Pandavas was very dear to the Lord Krishna, and he knew like he is the last descendant in his, because after Kurukshetra war, lot of, Pandavas were killed, and also Kauravas were killed. There was no man was there to produce another child, and he was the last person. So that's why Lord has saved, because he was very, and Lord definitely saved his all pure devotees, because in Bhagavad Gita he declared, "Na me bhakta pranashyati," devotee of the Supreme Lord never perish, and then Lord can go at any extent to save the devotee of the Lord. So here Krishna is showing as an example what he has said in the Bhagavad Gita, how he is going to save, how he saved, Maharaj Parikshit in the womb itself, because Lord can be the smaller than the smallest, can be greater than the greatest. So definitely for Lord, it's very easy to go inside the womb and save the Parikshit, because Lord is all pervasive. He is living in everyone's heart as a Shri Vishnu. So that's how, Lord has saved Parikshit Maharaj from the invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama. And if we'll go to the text 2 has talked about how was the great emperor Parikshit, who was highly intelligent and great devotee born in the. So again, Sonaka Rishi asked about it, how, a great devotee born in the womb of the mother Uttara, and how did that take place, what activity he did. So this is again a question. And here, when we're talking about death, so we need to understand, like, because at that time, the influence of the age of Kali has just started at time. And then Brahmana start degrading at that time, like, because how the Parikshit Maharaj got, curse from because, for his untimely death, because of that's the ill will of the son of Brahmana. That's mentioned in the Prabhupada purport. And because in that way we understand Brahmana start degrading, and as a pure devotee, Parikshit Maharaj accepted that curse, because he could have, as he got saved from the Lord, because of the Lord mercy, because he's a pure devotee, he could have saved in the womb of the mother. He could have been asked for the savior out of this curse as well. But because he is a pure devotee of Lord, and he did not ask for any undue favor from the Lord in that case. So because Parikshit Maharaj, and when he knew that in next 7 days Parikshit Maharaj is gonna get, meet the death, then he started using his time very efficiently. he associate himself with the Mahabhagavata Sukadeva Goswami and start hearing the Bhagavatam Katha. Start hearing the Bhagavatam Katha, and he, relishes like 7 days to hear the Bhagavad Katha submissively from the Mahabhagavata. And then he, inquire about, and that's how we are, that's how the Bhagavatam is coming to our ear, because it's a discussion between the Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And that discussion we are relishing, because that discussion happened because some Leela of the Lord, so that we can hear that nectar, we can understand that nectar. And then from this life of Parikshit Maharaj, we need to learn how Parikshit Maharaj was a king who is detached to his all opulences. He has a lot of material opulences. But because he's a pure devotee of Lord, he never attached to any of the material opulences. He was engaged in the devotion of the Lord from his soul and heart, and he is a pure unalloyed devotee of the Lord, and he never asked for any undue favor. And he served those 7 days to hear the Bhagavatam Katha, and go to the and that's why we can say like his death was glorious, because he utilized his time. And then in text 3, again, it's we all respectively want to hear about Maharaj Parikshit. Again, Sonakarisi inquire about whom Sukadeva Goswami imparted the transcendental knowledge. So they want to hear about it. I think I already covered about this. So here, I would say in this Prabhupada described in this verse basically the two very important process, which is chanting and hearing. Because chanting, Sukadeva Goswami is doing the chanting of the Bhagavatam Katha, and Parikshit Maharaj is submissively hearing that Bhagavatam Katha. So when a speaker and the receiver, when this Bhagavad Katha is being discussed, both are getting benefited. Because this is the two major process of our 9 process of devotional service, chanting and hearing. And chanting, in this process, both are equally benefited. So as we have a 9 process, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Dasyam, and other few like, prayers and, So in this process, if one is performing even all of them, or even few of them, or even one process sincerely, dedicatedly, then definitely that person will become the unalloyed. He will cleanse his heart. He will be able to cleanse his heart and will be able to get inclined to the service of the Lord. So any of the process, it's recommended, but we need to follow that process sincerely. That's the major thing. We need to, follow the regulative principle. We need to follow that process, and in that way, we will able to discharge the service to the Supreme Personality of the Lord in his lotus feet. In the text 4, Srila Sutta Goswami, again, said, now Sutta Goswami is trying to answer here about the Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he was ruling the earth at that time, how his regime was, how Parikshit Maharaj qualities are, whether he mentioned like he was exactly like his father, because Parikshit Maharaj never had any personal ambition. He doesn't have any sense gratification to satisfy, because his all senses, he was not basically a Godasa, he was a Goswami. He was, his senses are always in the, serving to the lotus feet of the Lord, and, to hear the glorification of the Lord, and, serve the Lord in any way, and serve the Praja, because he was neutral to everyone. And because that's the qualities of the Parikshit Maharaj. In the purport, word Praja is significant, because Praja and Prajapati. Prajapati is Lord Brahma, and Praja, we can say all the living beings, starting from aquatics, any animal, to human being, correct? So Maharaj Yudhishthira, Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, was equal to everyone, and he's kind of, as Lord is merciful to everyone, same way the king responsibility shown here is to take care of not only the human being, take care of all the prajas, take care of all the prajas. That's why at that time, the consciousness of the people were at a very high level when the Parikshit Maharaj or King Yudhishthira was ruling the earth. But since then, age of Kali influence again, and then the consciousness become down, and people are cheating propensity, a lot of other things of Kali features start propagating there. And here it's mentioned like Prabhu Maharaj Parikshit definitely follow the footstep of his father, like Maharaj Yudhishthira, and he has a very great quality of the other supreme personality. So actually, I want to talk here how Parikshit Maharaj, how we need to do our devotion service. As we see, we have let's take an example. Like there are several birds are sitting in the street, and then one big big bird comes, when and enter into the same place. All the small birds, fly away. So in that example, we need to understand these small birds are nothing but desires in every human's heart. So there are different desire for sense gratification, desire for any prestige, power, material opulence, correct? But we need to think about if these are the all material desire, which, and if we satisfy with this desire, we are not going to take anything with us, correct? That will remain here. But if we have a desire to serve the lotus feet of Lord, and that could be our highest focus, and that desire can be strong enough like a bird like eagle or Garuda, which will come into the, when that desire will come and reside in our heart, all other desire gradually move away from our heart. So we can think all these small bird in the street, we can think about our material desire, and that big bird can be, when it comes, all the small bird will go away. So that means that big bird will be the service to the lotus feet of God, our devotional service, our desire or hankering towards the Lord. And then we can busy, when we render the service to the Lord, definitely we will able to cleanse our heart. And day by day, definitely it's not a one-day process, it's a gradual process. And then we will able to, Prabhupada has also given the example, like we need not to water the leaves of the tree, rather than we need to water the root of the tree, because there are several leaves. So several leaves, we need to look at our prime focus. What should be our main focus? What is the real human life purpose? The real human life purpose is to identify your own self, identify your real self, and then serve the lotus feet of the Lord. And then in the next verse, Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Yudhishthira worldly position, and how good sacrifice qualification was so glorious that it was being, it was in heavenly planet also. It was, glorification of the Yudhishthira Maharaj was present. So because Maharaj Yudhishthira was so pious that even in the heavenly planet, everyone knows about it, and because his desires were non-envious, and he was centered around everyone, because his desire was centered around Krishna, and he was equipoised to his all praja. And the key word here, we need to be non-envious, if we are non-envious to everyone, we are equally poised to everyone, then definitely, and our focus should be centering towards the Lord service. In the next verse, Brahmana opulence the king, so in degenerates. So in this verse, basically it describes again the opulence and the quality of the Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he was a pure liberated soul, and he never had any pleasure or any prestige of his kingdom, of his wife, because his firm desire for the service of the Lord. So all these things are secondary to him, because his senses are fully occupied to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. And in the text 7, Sonaka asked, like, when the child Parikshit was a great fighter, was in the womb of his mother, Mother Uttara was suffering from the burning heat. So he again here asked, like, how he observed Supreme Lord. Could him, like, whether Parikshit Maharaj was able to observe that Lord coming to him? That is the kind of a question here. And here Prabhupada explained the law of birth. correct? How, karma, cycle, and law of birth was explained in detail in this purport, like based on our activity, what we do in the present life, our prarabdha are decided, and based on our prarabdha, we take our next life. If we are, serving to the lotus feet of Lord, we are cleansed ourselves and we become pure, unalloyed devotee of the Lord, then definitely Lord will desire to know us, and he will be more inquisitive to get us back to his own planet. So, because Lord is so merciful and is definitely little partial to his devotees. And next few words talk about like how the Lord appearance inside the womb and how he was saved, and suddenly got disappeared. In the text 8, because Lord can be the smaller than smallest, and Bhagavad Gita he has mentioned, and then he can be the bigger than the biggest. So Lord was only the thumb high when he entered into the womb of the Mother Uttara, and he was looking very beautiful, charming, blackish, infallible body, and he wore the dress of the lightning yellow, and helmet of blazing gold, and he was observed by the child Parikshit. But as the child born, because of the Maya potency, he forgot all those things when he took the birth. But in the womb, he was clearly able to see that. And then again in the text 9, Lord was enriched with 4-hand earring with the molten gold, and eyes blood red and fury, and he was his club was constantly encircled like a shooting star, because Lord is so merciful for his devotee that he can go to any extent to save his devotee. Save his devotee. And then that's why he was, rotating his club around the womb, and so that that club can dissipate the, power of the Brahmastra, So, I mean, in the purport, Prabhupada has disclaimed, mentioned about that Lord, how, about the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, how he entered into the each universe, and then he further dissipated as a Shirodakshaya Vishnu to the each atom and each living being. So then Shirodakshaya as a Paramatma form. So definitely then when everything is possible for Lord, so Lord can definitely enter into the womb of Mother Uttara to save the life of his dearest devotee. That's what explained by the Prabhupada in this purport majorly. And definitely no one can kill the devotee of the Lord when Lord is protecting that particular devotee, and no one can save the person if Lord want to kill that person. So definitely when Arjuna was not willing to kill the Kauravas, but Lord has already desired to kill all the Kauravas because he want to, establish the dharma. So definitely no would can, even the pure devotee of the Lord who was, resisting for the fight, but he could not save it, because that's the Lord desire. Nobody can save anyone if Lord desire to kill, and nobody can kill anyone if Lord desire to save. And so we need to see the Lord. It's not like we need to see as a devotee, practicing devotee, we need not to think about, oh, we could not see the Lord. We need to see the Lord as when we do the pran pratishtha in our temples. So Lord is living in the Archa Vigraha, and definitely in we have many examples, like, in the Jagannath Puri, one doctor has looked at the heartbeat of the Jagannath deity over there, and then the heartbeat was running. So Lord is residing as to shower the mercy to the age of this people, and he is available in all the Archa Vigraha. And Lord, there is no difference in the form of the Lord God, transcendental form, Lord Katha, and Archa Vigraha. There is no difference. Everything is same. It's all about the thought about, it's all about the perception of the material people. They don't think that the Archa Vigraha is just a material, form, but they don't consider the Lord is there. But as per the devotee, it's mentioned everywhere in all the Nishad, in all the places. Archa Vigraha, Lord is, it's a way of reciprocating with the age of Kali, the age of Kali for the people of the Kali Yuga, how Lord reciprocate in the form of deity in the temple. And because Lord is all pervading and merciful to his devotee, so he can be available anywhere, correct? He's in each and every atom as a Shirodakshaya Vishnu. And in the text 10, here it's mentioned like how Lord was, engaged in trying to vanquish the radiation of the Brahmastra. And then suddenly he and he disappeared from the vision of the Lord Parikshit. And again, Lord is so merciful to save the um, uh, save his devotee, and then he can go at any extent. In the text 11, if I'll go here, and the text 11, so text 11, again, I think we discussed like how Lord has saved his devotee and suddenly he got disappeared. But in the next verse, let's go to the next verse, text 12. So here, it's all about, this verse is all about the astronomical time, because when the Maharaj Parikshit was born, there was a lot of good sign because a good sign was from the zodiacal point of view, and due to that, the child Parikshit possessed all kind of good qualities during his birth. So we know, like in our place also in India, we believe in the horoscope, because our each part of body is being driven by the stars in the planet, correct? And as we and it's driven by, and our horoscope can tell us, if we have a learned astrologer can tell us our future activity, but there are limitations, but it can tell certain extent, it can be the true. But if we talk about a pure devotee, as for pure devotee or a person who is getting pure, cleans his heart, the horoscope doesn't hold true in case of the pure devotee, because pure devotee are always under the shelter of Krishna. And then in that case, the subordinate of the Maya Shakti, which is sort of subordinate of Krishna, that started releasing her clutches on such devotee. In this way, that devotee come out of the these stars, or influence of the stars and planets, and then horoscope doesn't hold true in such pure devotees. In the text 13, King Yudhishthira was very satisfied with the birth of the Maharaj Parikshit, and then he started a lot of the purificatory process, like in the Vedic tradition. It all happened like samskara, like Garbhadhar samskara, Jata Karma samskara. And in the age of Kali, as we know, 99.9% population belongs to the Shudra category. And then for current age, only Panch Charit, like the purification process, Panch Chakritrika process. It's mentioned. I'm not able to pronounce that name. But that's where we are saying, like, training person in the devotional service of the Lord. We just need to basically that is the process, like chanting the holy name, following the regulated principle, and also following all the 9 devotional anga of the devotional service. So once we do, because there is no other solution, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said there is no other way, no other way, no other way, rather than we need to chant the holy name of the Lord. And then here Maharaj Yudhishthira in this verse is mentioned, like perform the purification process with the help of the great learned Brahmana and Dhaumya and the royal priest like Kripacharya. And then the text 14, upon the birth of the son, king who knew how and where when the charity should be given, because Maharaj Yudhishthira was so ideal king, and he knew whom to give the charity, he knew where to give the charity, how much quantity the charity needs to give, and on what form the charity needs to be given. He understand all. Here in the purport, like Tirtha Hevit is a significant word here, because it describes a person who know how, when, and where charity has to be given. And the Maharaj Yudhishthira, King Yudhishthira, was well versed in that, because he's the pure devotee of the Lord. So and charity never to be unproductive and blind. We need to make sure. And basically, when we give the charity to the Brahmana, basically Brahmana need not to be worried about. In that case, Brahmana can focus on more on their spiritual life, and then they can enlighten their and their duty is to enlighten the praja, like enlighten the other human beings. That's the and they need not to worry about their own, how they will live their own life, correct? Because that's how they will leverage the charity which will be given to the Brahmana. because they will devote themselves to the well-being for the entire society and enlighten them for the spiritual enlightenment, in spiritual advancement. In the text 15, the learned Brahmana, who were very satisfied with the charity of the king, address him, O chief amongst the Puru, inform him that his son was certainly in the line of descended from the Purus. Basically, now Brahmana is trying to explain the Yudhishthira Maharaj how Maharaj Parikshit will be, how his qualities will be, and he started glorifying the Maharaj Parikshit qualities and in his aura in that time. Brahmana said, your spotless son, spotless, there will not be any tinge of material desire. Spotless means he will be pure soul and he will dedicate his life in the purity to the service of the Lord. And he mentioned, like, he has been restored by all powerful and all pervasive Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, in order to oblige you. He was saved when he was doomed, because the Maharaj Parikshit birth is glorious, because during that time, Lord presented himself, Lord himself saved him. And then his death is also glorified, because last 7 days, he got an opportunity to hear from the Mahabhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami, and hear about the Lord glory, pastimes of the Lord, and glories of the Lord. So definitely when he was saved by the Lord itself, definitely the person will be our devotee, Mahadevotee itself. In text 17, again, Brahmana was describing that child will be well known in the world as one of the protected by the, because he's protected by the personality of Godhead, because he's the most fortunate one. There is no doubt that child will become the first class devotee and will be qualified with the good qualities. And because as we know, because we need to look at the this purport when we get time today, because here Prabhupada has described the qualities of the Mahabhagavata devotee, and he also explained there are 3 grades of devotee: Mahabhagavata devotee, Madhyamadhikari, Kanishtadhikari devotee, and what are the differences between their quality, who is the Kanishtadhikari versus Madhyamadhikari, and how we can as we start at the devotion floor, in beginning, everyone is kind of in the same flavor of the Kanishtadhikari, and then later on, as they get purified, then they develop the quality of the Madhyamadhikari, and then they become the pure devotee, honorary devotee. It takes time, and then Mahabhagavata devotee. So please read it today if you get a chance. And Parikshit Maharaj is in the category of the Mahabhagavata devotee. And whenever Mahabhagavata devotee birth in anyone house, like his Lord has ensured, and mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, he will take care of the past, present, and future 100 generation will be liberated from that family. So that's where Bhagavan has declared, and then Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. In the last text 18, now after hearing all this, King Yudhishthira has a more inquisitive in his heart, and he would like to understand how this great soul, Parikshit Maharaj, will become, whether he will be saintly like his ancestor, and whether his name will be glorified, whether he will become famous like his ancestors, will he get the achievement. And then he just want to inquire about the Maharaj Parikshit, qualities. And then the next few verses, the Brahmana will glorify the Parikshit Maharaj qualities. And then he will compare him with a lot of great personality like Lord Ram, Arjuna, Ikshavaku, like Himalaya mountain, and different other personalities. And then later on, Maharaj Yudhishthira will perform different yagna. I think, so Monday we will hear next section of this chapter. And I would like to pause here, and I would like to say, if I have misspoken anything, please forgive me, and as your humble servant. And Shri Mad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I want to invoke the prayer. Vanchakalpataru Vriksha Kripa Sindhu Devicha Patitana Pavanibhyo. Thank you so much, devotee, to spend this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Himanshu Prabhuji, for sharing nicely. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.